My sister's wedding was on my due date. I told my parents I couldn't attend. My mom whispered, "You'll regret this." At the ceremony, she announced, "We're no longer speaking to our disgraceful daughter." My husband took the mic and said, "Then you won't be meeting your grandchild." The silence was deafening. It all started with a due date and a wedding invitation. Two events that, on their own, are supposed to be celebrations. Happy things. But in my family, it turned into a line in the sand. A choice. And apparently I chose wrong. My name's Tessa. I'm 33, married to Jonah, and until last October, I thought I had a halfway decent relationship with my parents. Not close like we talk every day, but we had Sunday dinners, exchanged birthday cards, and I genuinely thought they cared about me. I work in HR for a bank here in Cincinnati. Nothing glamorous, just a 9 to 5, cubicle life with decent benefits, and a break room fridge that smells like old tuna no matter how often it's cleaned. Jonah's a high school history teacher. Quiet, patient, the kind of guy who listens before he talks. We've been married for 5 years. Been through a lot. Infertility, 1 miscarriage, 2 failed IUIs. So when I got pregnant again, I was cautiously hopeful. We didn't tell anyone until we were past the first trimester. My due date was October 6. I still remember standing in our kitchen, holding the printout from the OB's office, and Jonah wrapping his arms around me like I might float away. We were smiling, laughing, both of us trying not to get ahead of ourselves. Then my phone buzzed. Tori, save the date. October 6th, ring bouquet, wedding, I'm getting married. I stared at it for a few seconds, my brain trying to catch up. That's my due date, I said, blinking. Jonah looked over my shoulder. Well, that's unfortunate. Tori is my younger sister by 2 years. We're not exactly close, but we don't hate each other either. More like opposites who share a childhood and not much else. She's bubbly, loud, obsessed with yoga and crystals, and always the star of the show. She met her fiancé, Bennett, at some mindfulness retreat in Asheville. They got matching tattoos 3 weeks later. I called my mom that evening. Hey, did you know Tori's wedding is on my due date? There was a pause on the other end. Then, well, she picked that date months ago. The venue was only available that weekend. Yeah, but I'm literally due to give birth that day. Well, maybe the baby will come early, she said, like that was a perfectly reasonable solution. I mean, possibly, I said, already feeling the anxiety rise. But I can't plan for that. You'll figure it out, she said, and the call ended without much else. That was the first red flag. But I brushed it off. I figured as the wedding got closer, things would get sorted out. I was wrong. Over the next few months, I started noticing little things. I wasn't invited to the bridal shower. Tori had a bachelorette weekend in Nashville. Never heard a word. When I asked Mom if she wanted to come to one of my ultrasounds, she said she was really swamped with wedding stuff. I sent Tori a text just to check in. Hey, just wanted to say congrats again. Sorry I might not be there for the wedding, depending on when the baby comes. Hope all the planning is going great. She read it. No reply. When I told Jonah, he just shook his head. That's cold, he said. You'd think she'd at least pretend to care. By the time August rolled around, I decided I had to be upfront. I called my mom again. Hey, I just want to set expectations. I don't think I'll be able to make it to the wedding. Silence. It's not just the due date, I added quickly. It's the fact that I might be in labor. Or literally recovering from it. She exhaled like I just told her I was getting facial tattoos. Tessa, you know how important this day is to your sister. I know. But childbirth isn't exactly optional. You've always made everything about you. That one hit me in the chest. Excuse me, she's your sister. You should want to be there for her. If you really wanted to, you'd figure something out. I hung up. I couldn't do it. Not then. A week later, I got a thick envelope in the mail. Inside was the wedding invite. I opened it, just to see. Not even addressed personally. Just the Anderson family. My name wasn't mentioned once. Jonas saw me staring at it and sat beside me. You don't have to go, he said. I know. But it hurts that no one gets why I can't. He took my hand. I get it. By the time the wedding week arrived, I was huge. Like waddling, can't sleep, everything hurts kind of huge. I'd been having Braxton Hicks contractions for a few days. Baby was head down, ready to launch. Saturday morning came. October 6th. No baby yet, but I was miserable. We stayed home, ordered takeout, and tried to distract ourselves. Then around 5 p.m., my cousin Jess texted me, "Holy crap, are you watching the live stream?" What stream? The wedding. Your mom just said something insane. My stomach turned. I clicked the link she sent and scrubbed through until I found the moment. My mom, microphone in hand, at the reception. She smiled at the guests, then said, "As we gather here to celebrate Tori and Bennett, I want to acknowledge someone who isn't here today. Our eldest daughter chose not to attend. She made a selfish decision, one that deeply hurt this family. We are no longer speaking to her." The guests gasped. Some laughed nervously. I felt like I'd been slapped. Jonah was standing behind me. I turned to look at him, tears already running down my face. Did she just disown me at a wedding? He didn't say anything, just grabbed his car keys. "Where are you going?" I asked. He didn't answer right away, just said, "I won't let her get away with that." Before I could protest, he was gone. The next thing I knew, Jess sent me another text. "Oh my God, Jonah just showed up." I watched the stream again, this time with my hand over my mouth. There was Jonah, standing in the middle of the reception hall, asking for the mic. People were confused, quiet. Tori looked horrified. He said, "If you're done speaking to Tessa, then I guess you won't be meeting your grandchild. Enjoy the rest of the evening." And he walked out. No yelling, no cursing, just that. Silence followed. Then the stream cut out. When Jonah got home, I was still crying. He sat beside me, pulled me into his chest, and said, "She had no right." None. I couldn't speak. I just nodded against his shirt, trying to breathe. We didn't hear from my parents. Not that night, not the next day. Not when I went into labor 48 hours later and delivered a beautiful, healthy baby girl. 7 pounds, 10 ounces, full head of dark hair. We named her Marin. No texts. No calls. No flowers. The silence wasn't loud. It was deafening. My aunt sent a gift, a soft pink onesie and a note that said, "She's lucky to have you." That was it. 6 weeks later, I got an email from my dad. Just one line, "You chose to abandon your family. Actions have consequences." I didn't reply. I didn't reply to my dad's email. I couldn't. Every time I tried to type something, my hands shook too much. The words wouldn't come. And anyway, what could I possibly say to a man who thought I abandoned the family because I didn't show up to a wedding while literally growing a human? Jonah read the message over my shoulder. He didn't say anything, just clicked the top right corner of the screen and closed the browser. Then he walked to the kitchen and started doing the dishes. It was his way of processing things. Scrub something clean. Wash off the hurt. I wish it were that simple for me. The days turned into weeks. We fell into the rhythm of newborn life. Diaper changes at 3 a.m., trying to breastfeed while half asleep, and marveling every time Marin made a new noise. I felt like I was living in 2 different worlds. One full of warmth, new beginnings, baby lotion, and sleepy smiles. And the other where my parents existed, cold and distant, pretending I no longer belonged. Around Thanksgiving, I got a text from my cousin Jess again. "Jess, I just wanted you to know. They set your photo down from the family wall." Me? What wall? Jess, the one in the hallway by the piano. All the cousins' grad pics, weddings, etc. Yours is gone. Tori's is blown up to 8 by 10. I stared at the message for a long time. Then I laughed. I think it was the kind of laugh that people mistake for sanity, but it wasn't. It was hollow and sharp and hurt my throat. "They took down my picture," I muttered to Jonah. He didn't look surprised. "They're mourning the version of you that existed in their imagination." I raised an eyebrow. Damn, that was deep. He smirked. "Years of teaching teenagers. You get philosophical real fast." By Christmas, the silence was unbearable. No stocking for Marin at my parents' house. No invitation. Not even a Merry Christmas text. I tried calling Tori just once. She answered on the 3rd ring. "Tessa," she said flatly. No hey, no warmth. "Hi," I said. My voice cracked a little. "I just wanted to say congratulations. On the wedding." Pause. "Thanks," she said short-clipped. "Is that all?" "Tori." I sighed. "I didn't skip your wedding to be spiteful. I was 9 months pregnant. I told you. You could have come for an hour," she cut me off. "You could have shown up, smiled for photos, then left." I was contracting. My ankles were the size of hams. "You made it about you," she snapped. "Like always." I swallowed hard. "That's not fair." She laughed bitterly. "Fair? You had the spotlight your whole life. Dad still brags about your career. Mom kept saying you were the smart one. You got the house, the husband, the miracle baby. I had one day, Tessa. One. And you couldn't even give me that." I felt like she'd reached into my chest and ripped something out. "You really think I planned my baby to upstage you?" I whispered. She didn't answer. I could hear music in the background, probably some post-honeymoon playlist. I imagined her in leggings, barefoot, sipping tea while casually disowning her sister. "I hope Marin grows up with people who show up for her," she said after a long pause. "Because you clearly don't know how to do that." And then she hung up. I didn't call back. That night, Jonah held me while I sobbed into his shoulder, clutching Marin's onesie like it was the only real thing left. I couldn't believe how easy it was for my own sister to rewrite me as the villain in her fairy tale. New Year's came and went. Then something strange happened. Jonah got a letter in the mail. Not a card. Not a text. A literal letter, handwritten, addressed only to him. It was from my mom. She thanked him for taking care of Tessa and expressed her disappointment in how I distanced myself from the family. She said she hoped Jonah would be the bigger person and eventually help guide Tessa back to her roots. He read it, eyebrows raised the entire time, then handed it to me without a word. I read it once, then twice. Then I crumpled it in my fist. She thinks you're the reasonable one, I said. She thinks you'll fix me. He nodded. They don't want to understand. They want obedience. And that hit me like a truck. They didn't miss me. They missed the version of me who said yes, who played along, who didn't push back or need things at inconvenient times. They wanted their compliant daughter, not the mother fighting to protect her peace. Still, it didn't stop me from hoping. Somewhere deep inside, I still wanted my mom to call and say, I miss you. I'm sorry. I still wanted to believe we could undo the damage. But that apology never came. Instead, in February, we ran into Bennett at the grocery store. It was surreal. He was in the produce aisle, squinting at avocados, and Jonah spotted him first. I could feel my body tense up, like I was bracing for a punch. He turned and saw us. Blinked. He said. Hey. Hey, Jonah said back, cool and even. I didn't say anything. Just nodded, trying to keep my breathing steady while Marin squirmed in the carrier strapped to my chest. Bennett looked at Marin. That her? Jonah nodded. Yep. Well, she's cute. Thanks. Bennett shifted awkwardly, like he was deciding whether to keep talking or run. Tori. She still gets upset about everything, he said finally. Your mom's not making it easier. I think she expected you to show up and apologize or something. For giving birth? I asked. He winced. I don't agree with how they handled it. But you went along with it, Jonah added. Bennett looked at the floor. It's complicated. Not really, Jonah said. You choose who you stand beside. That part's simple. We left without saying goodbye. Something in me shifted after that. A part of me finally gave up. I stopped checking my phone. Stopped hoping for a reconciliation that would never come. I started focusing on the people who were actually in our corner. Jonah's parents, our neighbor June who dropped off casseroles when Marin was born, my friend Kara who came over to fold baby clothes and just listened. These were my people now. And yet, even as I settled into our new normal, I couldn't help but feel the empty spaces. Like driving past my parents' street and instinctively slowing down, or hearing a song on the radio that played at Tori's graduation party, or looking at Marin and wondering if she'd ever know her grandparents. She deserved more. But she also deserved better than people who'd only love her conditionally. Spring came fast. Marin was 5 months old and teething like a little bulldog. Jonah and I were running on caffeine and willpower. We traded off middle-of-the-night shifts like soldiers in a war zone. Some nights, I'd find him passed out on the floor with a pacifier in one hand and a burp cloth draped over his face. We'd laugh, then cry, then laugh again. Parenthood had become this be-our-tal, beautiful blur. And yet, through it all, the silence from my family still hummed in the background like a fridge you can't unplug. I kept thinking it'd fade eventually. That I'd stop reaching for my phone when something big happened. That I'd stop wondering if Tori would ever get tired of holding a grudge. But grief doesn't work like that. You don't heal in straight lines. You just learn how to carry it differently. Then one Thursday in March, I got an email. Not from Mom or Dad, but from my uncle, Dad's brother. Uncle Reese. He's always been a bit of a wild card in the family. Drove a motorcycle, never settled down, wore cowboy boots to Thanksgiving. We weren't close, but he always treated me like an adult, even when I was 10 and asking too many questions. The email subject was, saw your mom today. I hesitated before opening it. Hey kiddo, ran into your mom at Kroger. She didn't see me. Looked tired. More angry than sad, honestly. Thought you should know. For what it's worth, I think she misses you. But her pride's bigger than her heart. Love, Reese, I stared at that line. Her pride's bigger than her heart, and felt something inside me tighten. Not out of anger. Not even sadness. Just exhaustion. That weekend, Jonah and I drove up to the farmer's market. We had Marin bundled in her little bear hoodie. Strangers kept stopping to comment on how cute she was. She smiled at everyone. Total ham. And for a minute, I felt this rush of peace, like maybe we were doing okay despite it all. Then I saw them. Mom and Dad. They were across the parking lot, looking at tomatoes. Mom was holding a reusable shopping bag like it was a designer purse. Dad stood behind her, arms crossed. They looked smaller than I remembered. More fragile. like they'd aged 10 years in 6 months. I panicked. "Jonah," I whispered, gripping his arm. "They're here." He followed my gaze, then looked back at me. "What do you want to do?" "I don't know." Marin let out a small squeal, the kind she makes when she sees something colorful. Her voice was loud enough that Mom turned her head and locked eyes with me. There was a pause, like time folded in on itself for a second. Her expression didn't change. She looked at Marin, then at me, then turned away. Just turned. Like I wasn't there. My chest burned. I felt like I was standing naked in the middle of the market. Not because I expected her to come running over with hugs and apologies, but, God, not like that. Not like I was a stranger. Jonah gently tugged me back toward the car. We didn't say much on the drive home. That night, I sat on the floor in Marin's nursery, rocking her while she slept against my chest. The white noise machine hummed softly. I stared at the glider chair across the room, the one I imagined Mom sitting in when I was pregnant, the one where she'd hold her granddaughter and tell me stories about when I was a baby. She never even asked to see her. How do you mourn someone who's still alive? April rolled in with long afternoons and the soft promise of spring. I started going to a mom's group at the local community center. It was mostly women I'd never have met otherwise, some older, some younger, all exhausted in their own way. We sat in a circle of folding chairs, surrounded by strollers and diaper bags, and shared the kind of BRTL honesty you can only share with people who understand 2 a.m. feedings and postpartum hair loss. One day, during introductions, a woman named Brielle mentioned she hadn't spoken to her parents in 2 years. "My dad told me I ruined Thanksgiving because I brought up politics," she said, bouncing her son on her knee. "So I left." And they never called after that. The room was quiet. Then another woman said, "Families have a funny way of defining loyalty as silence." Heads nodded. I felt a lump rise in my throat. Not because I was sad, though I was, but because for the first time in months I didn't feel crazy. I didn't feel like the one who broke something. Jonah was waiting outside when the group ended. He always parked under the tree with the dented trunk, reading in the car with coffee and a snack for me. I climbed in, took the granola bar, and said, "I want to write them a letter." He looked at me surprised. "Not to make peace," I added quickly. I need to say things. For me." He nodded. "I think that's a good idea." That night, after Marin went to sleep, I sat at the kitchen table with a pen and a notebook. I didn't open my laptop. I didn't overthink it. I just wrote, "Dear Mom and Dad, you may never read this. And that's okay. I'm writing it anyway because I need to stop carrying this alone. I did not choose to hurt you. I chose to protect myself and my child. I chose to give birth in safety, not guilt. I missed your wedding, yes. But I did not abandon you. You made a public announcement that I was no longer part of this family. So I have to ask, what kind of family demands unconditional loyalty, but gives only conditional love? I love you. I always will. But I can't pretend things didn't happen." I folded it up and put it in a drawer. Maybe I'll send it. Maybe I won't. But for the first time in months, I felt like I could breathe. The letter sat in that drawer for weeks. Every time I passed it, I thought about pulling it out and mailing it. I imagined different versions of how they'd react. My mom crying and calling me, my dad writing back something cold, Tori rolling her eyes and tossing it in the trash. None of those scenarios brought me peace. So the letter stayed where it was. Unsent, but still doing something for me. Like just putting those words on paper took some of the weight off my chest. By May, the weather was warming up, and Jonah convinced me to take a weekend trip to his parents' cabin out in Hocking Hills. It was the first time we'd gone anywhere since Marin was born. Just a 2-hour drive and a trunk full of baby supplies, but it felt like a different world. Jonah's mom, Barb, had stocked the fridge with snacks. His dad, Neil, had fixed up the fire pit. They didn't say much about everything we'd been through. They didn't need to. Barb just looked at me and said, "You're doing good, sweetheart," and I nearly burst into tears. On the second night, after Marin finally went down and we had a fire going, Jonah handed me a marshmallow on a stick and said, "I keep thinking about that letter." "Yeah. You ever gonna send it?" I shrugged. "I don't know. Part of me wants to. Part of me thinks they'll just use it to fuel the narrative that I'm the dramatic one." He poked at the fire. "You're not dramatic. You're hurt." I nodded slowly, chewing on the inside of my cheek. Jonah looked up. "You know, if it were reversed, if it had been my mom who said that at a wedding, I wouldn't have let her back in." I looked at him surprised. "Really? She knows that. That's why she never crossed that line. There's a difference between making mistakes and making decisions that sever a relationship." "Yeah," I whispered. "There is." That night I couldn't sleep. I got up, went outside, and sat on the porch with a blanket and the monitor in my lap. Marin was asleep inside, little chest rising and falling on the screen. I stared at her, wondering how I'd explain all of this someday. wondering how to raise a daughter with a spine and a heart when the women in my own family only seemed to know how to weaponize one against the other. Back home, I decided to start therapy again. It wasn't even about the drama anymore. I just needed help peeling the layers of this grief, figuring out what was mine and what had been forced on me. My therapist, Nadia, was this calm, no-nonsense woman in her 40s who didn't try to fix me. She just asked good questions, the kind that stuck in your head days after the session. In one of our sessions, she asked, "If your mom called you tomorrow and asked to meet, what would you want to say?" I paused for a long time. Then I said, "I want to ask her if she meant it. What she said at the wedding. That she was done with me. And if she said yes? I don't know." She nodded, scribbled something in her notebook. "You're grieving someone who hasn't died. That's why it hurts so much." That sentence stayed with me. It made me think about all the tiny deaths I'd gone through without realizing it. The loss of my childhood version of family. The loss of holidays that felt like home. The loss of being the daughter who could trust her parents to show up for her. Then came the baby shower. Not mine. Tori's. Apparently she was pregnant. I found out through a Facebook post. A photo of her holding a sonogram and a tiny pair of Converse sneakers. The caption read, "Coming soon. Baby Carter Blue Heart, so grateful, so blessed." I just stared at it. Not even surprised, just numb. Jonah came up behind me while I was still holding my phone. "You okay?" I nodded slowly. "She's pregnant." He didn't react. Just stood there quiet. "I guess mom and dad are gonna get their second chance," I muttered. Jonah put his hand on my shoulder. "That doesn't erase what happened to you." "It doesn't need to," I said. "They already did that themselves." But later that night, when I was alone, I cried. Not because I was jealous, but because it felt like the final nail in the coffin. Like they were rewriting the whole story without me. Erasing me from the narrative. Like Marin had never existed in their world at all. A week later, I got an envelope in the mail. No return address. Inside was a baby shower invitation. Tori's name on the front. Blue flowers. A registry link. Nothing else. No, "Hi Tessa, no, we'd love to see you," no message. Just the card. Jonah took one look at it and said, "You're not going." I wasn't planning to. You don't have to be polite about it. They weren't. I didn't RSVP. I didn't text. I didn't acknowledge it. And I didn't hear a word back. But then the day after the shower, I got a text. From my dad. "Your sister noticed you didn't come. She's hurt. It would have meant a lot to show her you're still part of the family." I stared at the screen for what felt like an hour. Jonah, sitting on the couch, saw the look on my face. "Who is it?" "My dad," I said quietly. "He thinks I should have gone to the shower." Jonah stood up, came over, and gently took the phone out of my hands. "You want me to respond?" I shook my head. "I'll handle it," I said. And for once, I meant it. I didn't respond to my dad's text. Not because I didn't have anything to say. Believe me, I had paragraphs, but because I was done trying to explain myself to people who had already decided I was the villain. Let them keep their neat little story. I was finally writing my own. But then something changed. Tori reached out. She emailed me, of all things. The subject line was "Peace Offering," which already set off my internal alarm bells. The body of the message said, "Hey, I know it's been a rough year. I'm trying to move forward. I'd like for our kids to know each other. If you're open to it, maybe we can meet for coffee. No drama, no judgment. Just a fresh start." Tori, I stared at the message for a long time. On one hand, I dreamed of this moment, of reconciliation, of someone in my family finally reaching out like they had a soul. On the other hand, something felt calculated, like it was too easy. Jonah didn't even look up from his book when I told him. "She needs something," he said. "What do you mean?" "She's not reaching out of guilt. She wants something. Wait for it." And sure enough, 2 days later, I found out what it was. Jess, my cousin, sent me a message with a screenshot. A Facebook post from Tori's baby registry page. There, in bold text, "Our nursery theme is lavender and sage. We are inspired by the Anderson family's heirloom cradle, which will be passed on to baby Carter Blue Heart, the Anderson family cradle." My cradle. The one my grandma gave my mom when I was born. The one Marin slept in for the first 3 months of her life. The one currently sitting in our guest room, freshly polished and wrapped in a soft quilt made by Barb. She thought she was getting it. Suddenly, everything clicked into place. The email. The tone. The no judgment line. It wasn't about peace. It was about possession. She wanted the cradle because it was a symbol. A prize. A way to restore her status as the golden child. I didn't write back. Instead, I planned something better. June came around, and Marin turned 8 months old. We threw a small backyard party. Nothing fancy, just friends, Jonah's parents, Kara from work, and some of the moms from my group. Jess came too. She brought her camera and said she wanted to practice her photography. Just candid stuff, she said, waving me off. You won't even know I'm there. What she actually did was brilliant. She took photos of Marin in the cradle, wrapped in that quilt, smiling, playing, sitting up like a little queen in her wooden throne. She got close-ups of the carved initials on the cradle side. T.A. Tessa Anderson. Then we uploaded the photos. We didn't tag anyone. Didn't say anything aggressive. Just a quiet post on Instagram and a caption that read, Marin Rose, 8 months old today. Rocking in her mama's cradle. 4 generations strong. Within 20 minutes, Tori viewed the story. An hour later, my mom did too. Then silence. But 2 days later, another email from Tori. I saw your post. So I guess you're keeping it. I just thought maybe since you're done having kids, it would make sense for me to have it now. But if that's your choice, then okay. Don't expect any kind of closeness between our children. That bridge is burned. I didn't respond. I didn't need to. Because that was it, the moment I realized she'd lost. Not because I had the cradle, but because I wasn't playing anymore. She wanted me to crawl back and beg for a truce, so she could decide if I was worthy again. She wanted control, validation, the ability to rewrite the past and still come out on top. But instead, she became silent. And silence, I've learned, is louder than screaming. Later that summer, we were at a small art fair when I ran into my dad. He was alone, looking at handmade cutting boards. He saw me before I saw him. We locked eyes. He opened his mouth, then closed it again. Then, finally, he walked over. Tessa, he said, nodding. Dad, I replied neutral. He looked down at Marin, who was babbling and chewing on a teething ring in the stroller. She's gotten big, he said. She has. He stood there, awkward, like he was waiting for me to invite him into something. A conversation, a relationship, forgiveness. But I didn't. I heard you're doing well, he added. I am. He nodded again. Then I looked away. I miss you, he said finally, so quietly I almost didn't hear it. I didn't flinch. I didn't cry. I didn't say it back. I just looked him in the eye and said, I know. And then I walked away. It's been a year now since that wedding. I never saw the inside of Tori's new house. I never held her baby. My parents haven't met Marin. And I'm okay with that. We built something better, something honest and strong and peaceful. That cradle still sits in the guest room. Someday, if Marin has a child of her own, I'll pass it down. And when I do, I'll tell her the truth. Not the bitter, angry version, but the one that matters. That we broke a cycle. That we chose love over legacy. That we built a family, not a performance. And that silence, sometimes, is the kindest way to say goodbye.